Call to order the regular board meeting of May 7th, 2019. The Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by the Anchor Bay ROTC. Please rise.
Look, attention. Carry colors. Forward, march. Post colors. Ready, face. Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms. Ready, face. Guide up.
Thank you to the Anchor Bay Junior ROTC. Item number 3 is roll call. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Here.
Treasurer LaFata.
Here.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph.
Here.
Trustee DeMink.
Here.
Clerk Berry is here. Trustee Vosberg.
An excuse for, a motion to make an excuse for Trustee Vosberg and to ask the clerk to refrain from calling her name during roll call votes.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I would also like to state, let's welcome Vosberg grandchild number 9, a healthy baby girl, Audrey Marie Vosberg. A lot of kids from Trustee Vosberg. Item number 4, presentation. Director Kirsten.
Thank you. I would like to present to the board our newest firefighter candidate, John Grzyb. If you can come up here. I'd like to present him to the board for swearing in. John comes to us from another agency. He's an experienced firefighter in St. Clair County. His wealth of knowledge will be an asset to our department. That being said, John, welcome aboard. Present to you, Clerk Berry, to
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of firefighter in and for the Township of Chesterfield, County of Macomb, State of Michigan, to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
his wife Gina will present him with the badge once he signs his oath. Thank you, Board Member.
Thank you. Welcome to Chesterfield Township, Mr. Grzyb. Item number 5, department reports. Any departments wish to share any information with the board? Item number 6 is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is required of any item, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Public comment are permitted on the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda include approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 2nd, 2019. I think it's April 16th, 2019. Approval of the agenda with the addendum, approval of the payment of bills, and approval of a request by Public Works to purchase meter and meter components from Ferguson Waterworks. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Trustee DeMink.
Second.
Support by Clerk Berry. Discussion. Comments from the public. Motion by Trustee DeMink, support by Clerk Berry. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye. Motion prevails. Item 7 is a regular agenda. 7A, approve the second reading and adoption of Ordinance 173, amending the table capacity unit factors utilized for determining water system benefit fees and sewer system benefit fees to include a category for dry manufacturing warehousing facilities. Do you have a motion?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 173, amending Article 3, Section 64-219, subset A of Chapter 64 of the Charter Township of Chesterfield Code of Ordinances.
Motion by Clerk Berry.
Support.
Support by Trustee Domingue. Discussion. This is, was in front of us last week, and here it is back. Our Township Engineer and Director Connington is here if anyone has any questions. Motion by Clerk Berry, support by Trustee Domingue. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Domingue.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye. Motion prevails. 7B, approve the second reading and adoption of Ordinance 174, amendment of Charter Township of Chesterfield Code of Ordinance, Chapter 46, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 8, Fireworks.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 174, amending Chapter 46, Article 8 of the Chesterfield Township Code of Ordinances.
Motion by Clerk Berry.
Support.
Support by Trustee Anderson. Discussion from the board or comments from the public? This is the second time this was in front of us as well. Seeing no comments from the public or board comments, Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Domingue.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye. Item 7C, approve a request by the Clerk's Department to adopt Resolution 2019-06 and Resolution 2019-07 for the proposed Sunrise Paving Special Assessment District.
Motion to approve Resolution 2019-06, number 1, and Resolution 2019-07, number 2, for the proposed Sunrise Paving Special Assessment District.
Motion by Clerk Berry.
Support.
Support by Trustee Anderson. Discussion from the board. Comments from the public. There will be a public hearing on this next meeting. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Domingue.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye. Motion prevails. Item 7D, approve a request for the Clerk's Department to adopt Resolution 2019-08 and Resolution 2019-09 for the proposed Meadow Lane Paving Special Assessment District.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Domingue.
Second.
Support by Clerk Berry. Discussion. Comments from the public. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Trustee Domingue.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye. Motion prevails. Item 7E, approve a request by Phantom Fireworks for a tent variance. Phantom Fireworks is requesting a 20-foot by 40-foot variance for a vending license permit at 29500 23 Mile Road, which is Meldrum Brothers, for the sale of fireworks from June 24th through July 5th, 2019. Business hours from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Do you have a motion?
Isn't it 9 p.m., sir?
I'm sorry, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve as stated.
Motion by Clerk Berry. Support by Supervisor Acciavatti. Discussion.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd just like to let the board know that all of the appropriate paperwork has been filed and received by the clerk's office. The only variance that they are seeking is for the tent. All other requests are within the provisions of our established ordinance.
Trustee Anderson.
Yeah, historically, I've probably voted no on these requests for the last several years. These vendors They're not local residents, they're business people. Like, most of them come from out of state. It's totally legal. They set up business in our township. Gives a 23-mile road a tremendous flavor the week and a half surrounding the 4th of July. You have all these little tents selling things. In the past, I haven't supported them. The other issue is that some of our local, or matter of fact, all our local businesses make it possible for these vendors, and it's totally legal, to come in and whatever way acquire that property for like 10 days to sell their wares. So our local businesses are partaking in this for whatever reason. If you're a resident or passing through Chesterfield, feel free to avail yourself of these wares, or if you don't, you can boycott them. Also think of those businesses that are making this property available for this legal endeavor. And with that, I appreciate it.
Any further comments from the board? I'm sure this will be the first of many of these to come in front of us every year. After August 1st of this year, we will have more tools as a township to actually regulate these type of uses. But as of now, we're status quo with where we were last year. The state of Michigan legislature and governor adopted a new public act which gave more tools to local units of government for temporary structures, specifically relating to the sale of fireworks. However, it does not go into effect until after this year's 4th of July. So we're still kind of in the position we are in with limited tools to actually regulate the use of these structures and potential legal action if we deny them. And then this will be back in front of us again. Any further comments from the motion by Clerk Berry, support by Supervisor Acciavatti? Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Supervisor Acciavatti?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
No.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Demink?
No.
Treasurer LaFata?
Aye.
Motion prevails. 7F, approve Supervisor Acciavatti's recommendation to appoint Mark Renaud to the Planning Commission with a term ending June of 2022. I'll make a motion to approve as stated.
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Acciavatti, support by Trustee Joseph. Discussion, and Mr. Renaud is here.
Just one comment, Mr. Supervisor, if I may. I have the honor of serving on the Planning Commission with Mr. Renaud, and I can tell the residents that he always comes to the meetings prepared. He's typically gone out to the site and is able to offer good commentary on whatever is before the board. So he takes his role very seriously with the Planning Commission, and I appreciate his effort and his time that he puts in, because some of these issues can be quite complicated, and not only do they require you to kind of make an informed decision, but you got to spend a lot of time preparing as well. And I really do appreciate Mark and enthusiastically support his continuing on our Planning Commission.
Thank you. Motion, Trustee Greer?
Just would like to mention as well that this candidate has also taken the MSU extension class for citizen planners, and I would hope that that is something that a lot of people would avail themselves to. There's an awful lot to learn there, and I appreciate so much that this individual took the initiative to do that. I think it's a great addition to our township, and I enthusiastically support.
Thank you for serving, and you've been a great asset for the last year, and I look forward to continuing. Motion by Supervisor Acciavatti, support by Trustee Joseph. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Supervisor Acciavatti?
Aye.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Demink?
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata?
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Motion prevails. 7G, approve Supervisor Acciavatti's recommendation to reappoint Gerald Alexi to the Planning Commission with a term to expire June 2022. Make
So
a
moved.
Motion by Trustee Demink,
Support.
support by Trustee Joseph. Discussion.
Again, similar comments, Mr. Supervisor, regarding Mr. Alexi. He served in the township on many boards, including this board. He's also very well informed, comes to the Planning Commission meetings prepared to give valuable input, and his work on the board is admirable as well. So another great reappointment here.
Thank you. Any further comments on the board or from the public? Motion by trustee Demink, support by trustee Joseph. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Motion prevails. 7H, approve Supervisor Acciavatti's recommendation to appoint Brian Carr to the Planning Commission for the term ending June 2022.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Demink,
Support?
support by trustee Joseph. Discussion.
Mr. Carr is going to be coming from ZBA and going to planning, so he's done a job there. You know, Trustee Joseph, you've worked with him, and I think he'll do a good job on planning with him.
Yeah, this is, again, another guy that comes prepared, whether it's planning or zoning. I'm confident that he will continue the great work he's done over in ZBA, and looking forward to seeing him on planning. Welcome.
Very impressed with all my interviews and interactions with Mr. Carr, and looking forward to him serving on this committee.
So if we're losing you, Mr. Carr, you've been a valuable part of the zoning board here. Appreciated it. Thank you.
Motion by trustee Demink, support by trustee Joseph. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Motion prevails. Item 7I, a request to approve Administrative Procedure Order Number 08-2019 and adopt Resolution 2019-14, Facility Management and Rental.
Motion to approve is stated.
Motion by Clerk Berry. Support by Supervisor Acciavatti. Discussion.
Mr. Supervisor, this is an issue that we needed to revise for a while now. We've done some minor tweaks and changes to it over the years, but we've taken it much farther than we have in the past. Legal has reviewed this several times. We've made amendments again and gone back to legal again to make sure that we're compliant with all of the state provisions as well as federal law, and I believe that this is a very comprehensive rental agreement or agreement to set the rules for utilization of township facilities.
Any comments from the public? One quick one for me. This is just the continuation of administrative procedures, clear processes and procedures that are easy to amend and easy to understand, and this is just continuing that process. And I thank the team, Director Duchesne, Clerk's Office, Treasurer's Office, and my office for all the work on all of these processes and procedures. Motion by Clerk Berry, support by Supervisor Acciavatti. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Motion prevails. 7J, approve a request to adopt Resolution 2019-05, a resolution to acknowledge May 2019 as Motorcycle Awareness Month. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Treasurer LaFata, support by Trustee Joseph. Discussion. This was an issue that was brought to me by a resident, and an issue that I worked on quite a bit when I was in the legislature. I do believe it's something that local government should be promoting. Safety on our roadways is a government function, and adopting this resolution and placing signage on our digital sign up front, I think is very warranted for our community. Any comments on the board or comments from the public?
Boylan, 28775 Apollo. I would like to thank the board for putting this resolution on the agenda. It has been barely a week since I talked to Supervisor Acciavatti about this. I had come in late to the game. He was enthusiastic, he supported it, and he's done it. To me, this is a perfect example of the local township boards supporting the residents' request. And although this may seem like a small thing, the fact that it's out there and people are seeing it, it only takes 1 or 2 people for it to click. And something that you may not think of, there's a school right across the road. Kids are very impressionable. They'll be seeing that also. And hopefully that will sink into their little minds, which are very fertile. And this will help save a lot of motorcyclists and make driving safer for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boylan. Motion by Treasurer LaFata, support by Trustee Joseph. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Treasurer LaFata. Aye. Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Motion prevails. 7K, approve a request by the Department of Public Safety to enter into an agreement with MedStar to provide a community medical first response service for 5 years in the amount of $220,000 per year.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Joseph.
Support.
Support by Treasurer LaFata. Director Kirsten.
You have the contract in front of you, it's in your package. Basically, this is an enhancement from our existing contract with MedStar. As you know, MedStar has been our transport partner for this community for a long time, prior to them being MedStar. They were known as another agency. MedStar, we have a great working relationship with them. This and what I'm going to call an enhancement to our current service brings a community medic non-transport response to our community. It also adds a dedicated medical first response vehicle to our community that are solely dedicated to this township. They will not leave this township. In supplement with that, we also get the existing service that we currently have. The agreement is for 5 years. The cost is detailed in the contract and in the proposal. The mission of the fire department will not change. We will become more efficient, though. We will become more involved in the technical aspects of the fire service. And I believe that, it's my belief that this contract is an enhancement, and hopefully you will see it and read it as the same and approve the agreement as stated. There are some edits that we do have to make in the contract after proofreading it many times. We picked up a couple of non-essential proofreading errors, but in context, this is a good agreement.
Trustee Joseph.
Without replowing the ground that Director Kirsten just laid out, this is clearly an enhancement. The thing that's very exciting about the review of our medical first response has been, I think, came about in a fairly ugly way, and that was the decision to take a look at Fire Station 2. And when we found that the building was really not safe and decisions were made to close that station, we were inundated with all kinds of concerns about not only the residents near Station 2, but also the township as a whole. And it required a lot of monitoring of the dispatch and what kinds of runs and call times. And I know that your team, fire chief, your captains, have been diligently monitoring medical runs. We knew some things prior to the closing of the station regarding the percentage of overall calls, but I don't think we realized until we started to really dive quite deep and look at some of these runs and what they entail, that this enhanced MedStar contract was just perfect for our community. It really is a step in the right direction in terms of providing top-notch response. And I'd like to just point out, not only has MedStar been a great partner for the township for many, many years, they continue to enhance their product. And just recently, MedStar became affiliated with the Life Flight and has now at their disposal for instances that require transport by air a helicopter that is equipped with state-of-the-art not only personnel but equipment. That also comes into the township, and there are, I think, no arguments to be made that the safety and welfare of our residents has always been paramount. I noticed Mr. Tazinski is here tonight. He's the union president, and I'm sure he's also in support of anything that can enhance our residents' safety and response time. So I'm not sure if he's prepared to speak tonight, but I'd love to hear how he feels about enhancing the services for our residents. I know he's been very outspoken on that issue and was quite concerned about resident safety when the station was closed, and I'm sure he's here tonight to talk to us about what a great enhancement this is. So thank you, Mr. Tazinski, and thank you, Chief, for bringing this forward.
Shameless plug on the helicopter that will be at our open house on the 18th.
It'll be here for our residents to see.
Yes.
Great.
Treasurer LaFata.
This contract is going to actually bring a return on investment to the township. One that you can't measure is the increased level of EMS service to the residents. One financial one that you could, it's going to stabilize overtime, long-term legacy costs. It's going to reduce vehicle fuel and maintenance costs. And it probably negate the need to spend $400,000 to renovate the Jefferson Station. Thank you.
Any further comments from the board? Clerk Berry.
Thank you. One of the things that I like about this, one of the things you pointed out in your executive summary, Director Kirsten, that I think is a very important thing to notice is that while we take all of our life support and emergency medical responses onto MedStar, that allows our firefighters to spend time training for fighting fires and training for all of those other essential functions for which no one else that we have available to us can do. And so I like that it frees them up to be able to do additional training. It seems to me that this arrangement will provide the best of both worlds for our residents, both the highest quality and best level of service for medical response, but also allow for even better service from our firefighters as well in terms of fighting fires and protecting lives and property in that regard. So I thought that was an excellent point that you made, and I'd like to point that out. My only other question is that this has already been, legal has taken a look at this and there's no concerns there. I don't see any concerns here, but I just want to ensure that legal didn't have any issues either.
I do not. I've reviewed it with Director Kirsten several times, and I sent him an email to that effect.
Very good, thank you.
And you're absolutely correct. One of the areas that we're focusing more in is the technical side of the fire service and the rescue service. We recently purchased 2 new boats. Again, with the high water, our trench rescue, we're participants now with the county trench rescue team, the county hazmat team. All those things are beginning to take shape. So yes, it is. We were never a transport agency. It's nice that MedStar is so close by in Mount Clemens, and this service is obviously a benefit across the board. And we do have 2 representatives. I'm not sure if they'd like to speak, but I would like to invite them up here to at least comment on anything that I may have missed with their service.
Welcome. Come up to the microphone, just state your name if you can for the record.
Kevin Wilkinson, Director of Clinical Services for MedStar EMS.
Susan Burkhart, Vice President of Healthcare Integration at STAR.
So, another thing that having a physical presence 24 hours a day, 7 days a week does is it starts to venture into population health management. Sorry, there you go. How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
Yeah. All right, it starts to venture into population health management. So when these guys have downtime, some more things that they can do is, if your fire service or law enforcement services identifies somebody who might be at risk for in a food starvation zone in your township, or someplace like that, they can go check a refrigerator, do a home evaluation, look for fall hazards, look for trip hazards. So it shouldn't just be somebody sitting on a corner. There's a lot of things that they can do that'll bring a healthy community to Chesterfield. So I think that's an important thing that maybe didn't get brought up a little bit that we shouldn't leave out, is that these guys can present a lot of opportunity for a healthier Chesterfield. And you know, as we get into mobile health instead of EMS transport, our goal is to mimic what the fire service has done with smoke detectors in houses and try to put ourselves out of business a little bit and stop people from going to the hospital in the first place. And that's a high goal, but it's one that we hope to bring to all the communities that we serve. Do you have any questions about the current proposal?
No, we do not. Maybe hang tight just in case if when we come back around, if we have something.
Only one thing. With the change in insurance, when we can treat and not transport, this could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars to a resident with the high deductible that so many people have. When you call and we transport directly to the hospital, the deductibles are in the thousands of dollars. When we can treat and not transfer safely, there's also additional savings to residents that way too, not to mention the pain and inconvenience of going through that process. So we're excited.
Thank you. I'm going to bring it up to the public. Welcome, Mr. Cate.
Thank you. Joe Cate, I live on Sutton. I've been following this probably for 2 years, I think, since I met with Chief Kirsten, because I had been a medical emergency and the Chesterfield Fire Department showed up as well as MedStar, decided that I needed a trip to a hospital. I was surprised because MedStar ended up taking me to the hospital, not Chesterfield, although they made the run. And I'm thinking afterwards, well, they came out, probably had they made the run, would have got maybe $600 or $700 for doing that run, but they didn't, went to MedStar, and they did a good job. I had no problem with MedStar. But I was thinking afterwards, why, number one, do we go to places if they can't treat and can't transport? And number two, what are we missing? Well, Chief Kirsten, if we all remember, did his study, had the presentation over here, and basically kind of recapped it.
Oh, hurry up. Maybe head back up to the microphone. I'll hand them out. Yeah. Thank you.
And going through it, basically, I don't know what year he used, but assuming his numbers are correct, I think he got them from MedStar. In the year that was used, there were 3,678 runs made. Of that, 3,600 were medical. That's Chesterfield answered along with MedStar, of which 3,300 required transfer to the hospital, which probably gave MedStar an income of $1.5 million plus a year. Of the rest of the runs, the 78 which were non-medical, there were 8 of them that he could classify as fire-related, and the 70 of them were classified, I guess, not related to fire, maybe cat in a tree or something like that. And it became apparent at that time, when he went through that the fire department needed to change to meet the fire needs, or the public needs. Apparently, that's not being the case here. What's apparently being the case is fire departments are just losing ground, not being part of the public safety department as they should be. You're just outsourcing that. When Director Kirsten went through all that, he listed all the costs for training, equipment, manpower, everything else, and had excess to covering that, basically with the current tax millage, plus the fact any future income that for what they would be transporting would cover probably most of that, plus the salaries of the people being now being the transporters. And you had $6 million in the equipment fund, fire equipment fund, that could have been used to buy most of the equipment needed. The only negative that came out during his talk was that not all the firemen wanted to upgrade or be trained or go back to school to become paramedics or EMT, whatever is required. At the same time, Trustee Joseph got with the Troy Fire Department, see what their status was, how they felt about doing that. I think 3 times we were promised a report, never did get anything. But anyway, after all of that, looking at this, if I were in somebody's shoes, I'd say it makes sense to upgrade our firefighters to do this and keep it within the community. Be our own, in other words. Now you're looking at outsourcing this along with the $1.5 million a year supposed income from doing the runs, maybe more, I don't know. And you're left with a fire department that you said, according to his things, basically did 80 runs a year between 2 stations. Now that's less than a run a week. That's for each station, 40 runs out of 52 weeks. You're also increasing the membership of the fire department. I think probably within the last 3 weeks, you've added 6 or 7 guys, maybe more. I think they're on call. I don't know how they qualify. But, and with that, you're remodeling the fire station on 22 Mile Road to include a bigger place for sleeping arrangements. And I guess that's because you got more guys there with less work to do. Actual work, not just training or being prepared for hazmat or things like that. This doesn't make sense to me. At this point, rather than you guys going through with this, I think you should shelve it, bring it to the public in the way of a town hall meeting, get the public's response and the public input to it. It's their money and their needs. I request that you do something like that, set it up so everybody knows what's happening and get their feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public? One quick comment from myself. I am very supportive of this next step in our public safety model. Yes, we're investing in fire apparatus. Yes, we're investing in training of our personnel. Yes, we are making substantial investments in our facilities. Yes, we're hiring more personnel, most in the paid-on-call realm, and making sure that that entire team is staffed properly. And you also may see something else in the very near future, and that is a decrease to the millage. That's what happens when you do the kind of work that we've done. I support this wholeheartedly, and a lot of changes are going on. And I think they're all for the good, for our public safety department as a whole, the equipment that they have, and our individual firemen, firefighters and police officers, and most of all, our residents. So if there was any controversy or discussion as to where I'm at with this, I am fully in support.
Can I clear up a couple of?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure. We've never made money as a transport agency in Chesterfield, Mr. Cate. We've never transported. The fire department has never billed. I don't know where you're getting the $1 million.
Make sure, Director, make sure
yeah.
just.
I'm not sure where he's getting the $1 million from. That's MedStar has been our transport agency. Prior to that, it was their originating company. So our firefighters provided a supplemental role, always have been and always still will. This is just an enhancement from MedStar that we've entered into to make our community safer. Nothing operationally is technically going to change. We are going to be more efficient. We're going to be more responsive as to what we send and how we get there. But the day-to-day operation is based in efficiency and based in current practices and standards, and that's the direction that we are going in.
Thank you. Any further comments? Trustee Joseph.
Yeah, just Mr. Katich's comments. He has been following this, and I know he and I have spoke about this several times. There was a period shortly after the closing of Station 2 where there was a lot of discussion about the direction of the department. And I noticed that in his literature that he passed out to the board, he hit a lot of bullet points. The one you quickly pointed out, I'm not sure the revenue associated with this wasn't never about making money off residents or capturing revenue. And when we looked at the ability to even service residents in that way, what we found is that we personnel-wise, we were not prepared to take on that responsibility. Most of our department is not advanced life support certified, and so there is a requirement to sort of get the training in. And as we heard in a lot of the discussions, it's been really years since the contract that was put in place required new firefighters to be paramedics, and yet we still are not above the 50% threshold of more paramedics than EMTs in the department. So we're really not prepared. It's not just about purchasing ambulances and then getting in the business. There's a lot to that. We weren't prepared. The other issue as it related to the comment about the presentation on the Troy Fire Department, I did in fact take a personal day and spent considerable time in Troy talking with their business community, talking with their fire chief, examining their operation, and I was prepared to bring back to the board a PowerPoint with some ideas about what I thought the direction might best be served by. At the time, you recall, it was fairly contentious. We had the closing of the station, and we had discussions surrounding contract negotiations, and so Troy is generally not considered to be the preferred path for union firefighters, I would say, and so it was seen that that presentation potentially caused more friction, and so we sort of shelved that for a bit. What's happened since is an area that I pointed out earlier, which is something that we've been able to gather all around, and that is resident safety. And what is the best way to ensure resident safety in the current, right now? And the enhancement of the MedStar contract is, in my opinion, the best way. It addresses what we've come to know by the data to be the overwhelming majority, 90% or better, of the runs are medical in nature, and putting some additional services in place to address the cornerstone of that, which the MedStar representatives focused on, which is prevention and trying to keep from having transports. It's a very good element, and it is a sort of a bifurcated discussion. One, what's the best fire department for Chesterfield moving forward? When we look at our development in the north end and where we invest in not only equipment but buildings, do we look at the north end where the expansion is? Do we look at what kind of department we want to be? And those are all valid discussions that we do together. But what we don't do is back burner the resident safety while we're developing those strategies. And this is a very cost-effective way to ensure that our residents are well cared for and the firefighters have the enhanced contract to support them. So this is a win-win. This doesn't involve any reduction in firefighters. It doesn't involve any reduction in the investment in equipment or personnel of our Chesterfield Fire. We've hired more firefighters in the last 6 months with the addition of the chief and an additional wealth of experience to examine what we do moving forward. It continues to be front and center for all the board members. I agree with you, Supervisor Acciavatti. This is a very clear indication of our commitment to our residents and their safety, and I really think this enhancement of the contract is exactly what we need. So thanks for bringing it to us, and thanks to MedStar for putting together such a comprehensive service at such an affordable price. Thank you.
Any further comments from the board? Motion by Trustee Joseph, support by Treasurer LaFata. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Motion prevails. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Director Kirsten. Item 7L, approve the recommendation by the Cell Phone Committee to cancel the current contract with AT&T and to enter into a Verizon wireless contract taking effect no later than July 1st, 2019.
So moved.
Motion by Clerk Berry,
Support.
support by Treasurer LaFata. Discussion.
So a question, if I may, Mr. Supervisor. Does this new contract, will this involve a return on the equipment that's been issued? Can we get rid of all of this and go with a real service provider now? Because this is horrible.
Treasurer LaFata.
I'll provide some history. The current AT&T cell phone plan is what I'll call a perfect example of what I call things gone wrong. When the township purchasing policy is not followed. It wasn't approved by the township board, nor was it approved through our finance department. They were both circumvented when this happened. We did not get the proper governmental contract. It went to the, we didn't have proper payment terms, which resulted in not being able to get one of our elected officials contacted, and the township cell phones were actually shut off, which included both our police and fire department. The contract included a major purchase of $33,000 for the cell phone and equipment, which were some cases. And the monthly rates were inconsistent with that of what a municipal user should have been. The monthly reconciliation of the inaccurate invoices consumed hundreds of wasted hours to try and reconcile them over the last 2 years. So with the help of Mr. Duchesne, who overcame the largest hurdle, which was the $19,000 that we owed for the phones that were purchased, which was the balance of the $33,000. He finally got AT&T to write those phones off, and they will become the property of the township when we cancel at no added cost. If you look at the last 3 months of the phone bill, January, $4,376, February, $4,825, March, which was supposed to be a good bill, which still was an error, was $3,681, which monthly average for this year was $4,294. So our new provider, our estimated monthly charge is going to be $2,279, which is going to leave us about a $2,000 a month cost reduction if we dump AT&T and sign a new contract with AT&T. All the phones, new equipment will be supplied along with the contract at no charge. Replacement phones annually at no charge. So it's a win-win situation. There's actually a good business case to dump this tomorrow. There's no reason to keep it.
Thank you. I want to commend the QBS and vendor management process and the team that that tackled this vendor. We've gone through the QBS process, qualification-based selection process for our vendors, all of them. We haven't been through all of them yet, but everyone that's been procured since mid-2017, after about my first 3-4 months in office, have been through this team process. This was a vendor that did not go through that process right out of the box in 2016, and I commend that whole team for bringing this forward, and I couldn't agree with Treasurer LaFata more, that the sooner we change, the better. Any further comments from the board? Motion by Clerk Berry, support by Treasurer LaFata. Clerk Berry, please call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Domink.
Aye.
Supervisor Acciavatti.
Aye. Motion prevails. Item 8, addendum, there are none. Item 9, public comment. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. And speak into the microphone. Mr. Miller, come on up to the microphone. Make sure that, give it a little tap to make sure it's good for you. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your time. I want to apologize for using your little hearing aids, and I want to apologize to you two veterans for not changing the battery in them. They were issued by the VA. But I noticed that you had to spend $200,000. A few years ago, a good friend over here had a police uniform, and he wanted to spend $400,000 at the police station. And I could hear better then. I went bopping to the police station and went all through the building to see how that was spent. It's not spent yet. He's still working on it probably. I see he's got rid of his uniform, got him a suit, so he can afford a brand new suit. When you hired that guy tonight to be a fireman, it reminded me I have a fire station that's closed. Why am I hiring fire people to be firemen with a fire station closed right on? Let's get that thing open. That's number one. Now, that gentleman here from the medics, my wife got a little dizzy. We're both over 80. We're lucky. Thank you up there. And they took her to the hospital. I said, how much do I owe you? Nothing. So I want to thank this here MedStar bunch of people, whoever they are, wherever they are, and thank you for the service. And then one night, one of our cops come over to my house, brand new rookie. Son, I didn't call you. I haven't been sick. Get on back out on the road and chase the crime. They were back at my house trying to get me to go to the hospital. I declined and went back to bed and told them all to go home and thank them. Thank you for that service also. Now, I'm going to either get some new hearing aids so I know what's going on, or else I'm going to insist that everybody use the microphone, including you guys. Don't you have one that I pay for? Then use it, please. When you're doing your campaigning every meeting that we hold. And you, LaFata, thank you for your speech tonight, but I didn't hear a word of it. I apologize. And I'm going to get on out of here and go home and get to be 90 before I say throw them all out or re-enlist them. You're either on your way out or I might decide to retain you. And I'll be here in 24 months and I'll be 90 years old. Pretty soon I'm going to be too old to be messing with you people. I'll sign there.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you for stopping by the house.
And for your service.
And don't go to Jackson yet. Tell them what about Jackson.
Will do. Any further public comments?
Couple of things I wanted to talk about tonight. But first, I wanted to say, you were questioning about where the $1.5 million come from. You never got paid. You didn't get paid. But by converting our fire department over to do the EMS, you wouldn't need MedStar. And therefore, all the money that MedStar charges from the insurance companies that the people they transport, at those numbers that were cited, would be about $1.5 million, which is why I put in there it would have covered the training, the equipment would have covered out of the fire equipment fund, but I guess it's all passed now. The other things I wanted to talk about tonight was, first of all, the garbage problem. I don't know, I know Supervisor Acciavatti has heard about it, responded my complaint with a long email with attachments and everything, and basically didn't solve the problem. I had asked when the contract was written, was it stipulated in there that you could only have 35-gallon cans? Mine and apparently half of the township, if they don't have the ones that with the wheels on them, can be attached to the truck to empty. If you got larger cans, mine's 44. Greenleaf decided that they weren't going to do it anymore. They're not going to pick them up. I questioned why they wouldn't, and they said, well, you know, they're overweighted. Well, mine never were overweighted. So I said, you know, if it's a problem with the weight, why don't you just tag the ones that don't pick them up if they're too heavy? They apparently couldn't agree with that. So there's a lot of us out there. What I'm doing now is taking my garbage out in the tubs, and before they come, take the bags out of the tubs and leave them on the street. Seems a little ridiculous, but that's it. And I guess my question is, did you know that they were going to do this when you signed the contract? If they've had it for 2 years, if they were planning that change, they should have said something before they had the contract so you could let everybody know, and we wouldn't be a big surprise a couple, 3 months after the contract. If they did it without telling anybody and didn't say that, signing the contract, that, you know, they were going to do this, then they ought to be called in and say, you know, this isn't right. You should have said something then. Do you really want this contract worth a couple, $3 million? Or do you want to play this game? I'd like some resolution. I happen to get newsletters from a website, and there are a lot of people complaining about this. And I think when I talked to the representative from Green for Life, he told me he had been in contact with your secretary, I believe, who was fielding all the complaints and passing them on to him. It's a big issue out there. Secondly, I had talked to Treasurer LaFata last week. I happened to be in the paddle park talking to some DNR guys that were out taking fish out of the river, and the whole area was completely flooded. You couldn't get near the banks. You couldn't get down to it. I had to leave my car on the road, and the water still wasn't as high as it was within the last few days. And I talked to Paul about it, and I said, somebody ought to really check what's going on here and what their plans are with AEW. Well, he checked with AEW, and basically they set the plans, the elevation for flood stage at 571 feet. That's above sea level. When Paul checked, AEW should have had it at least a foot above flood stage. And this last week, actually, I had some runoffs I did. The water actually went up, according to the DNR, to about 573 feet above flood stage. So somebody ought to be following this project a little better with AEW, find out what they really signed up for, because...
About 10 seconds left to your 5 minutes.
Okay. Everybody here complains about nothing being done there, but nobody's following what AEW is doing and checking if they're giving you something right.
Thank you. You're out, we're over. Thank you, Mr. Page. Any further public comment? Any further public comment? Let's bring up to the board, Trustee Anderson.
Thank you. First thing, welcome firefighter John Grzyb to Chesterfield Township. Hope you have a good stay here and productive one. On Thursday, April 25th, Treasurer LaFada conducted a community enlightenment program, and he basically covered all aspects of local township government. It was quite informative, well attended, and also Mr. Joseph was a master of ceremonies for the question and answer period. Did a good job. And I understand you may have, hopefully you have some comments tonight, Mr. LaFada, about that evening. And the last thing I want to say is, Mr. Acciavatti, and I know I'll miss somebody, your team members of JR, Kevin, Josh, and others, I believe you should be commended and for marshaling and shepherding the process in addressing this flood situation that our township finds itself in. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So a couple of things, just touching on the flood issues in the township. A lot of work by our DPW and a lot of work on the part of the supervisor to stay on top of those things. I would just like to point out that we did have an incident. I was contacted by a resident lives off of Jefferson regarding some problems with some flooding in his neighborhood and the way that he notified the township. So it eventually ended with a no loss of property or damage, but the difficulties that it revealed were pretty telling. Specifically, we had water over Jefferson for the morning rush hour, and it was and is being investigated now to determine the cause, but it revealed an opportunity to maybe have a better on-call system, if you will. So right now residents are directed to 911, and we have dispatchers that hopefully are dealing with issues, well, not hopefully, but who are dealing with issues involving police and fire, and they're fielding water calls or water emergencies in this particular case. I really, after getting fairly involved in the review, found that to be kind of an antiquated system, and had an opportunity to talk with not only the supervisor but also Mr. Duchesne about some ideas how maybe we could do that a little differently and leave our police and fire dispatch out of the water emergency business, because it really just involves being an answering service and calling one of Mr. Coddington's people who are on call, and maybe there's a better path. And so I've looked at some neighboring communities, brought a brief discussion to Mr. Acciavatti, and he asked me to help facilitate a solution for that. So I'm encouraged to work more, Mr. Duchesne, with you and maybe Mr. Coddington to develop a more appropriate system of notifying the appropriate people in a water emergency. So, by the way, in Macomb Township, the after-hours water emergencies, caller is received by an answering service who calls the supervisor, actually directly, and then the supervisor decides who within her department will handle the call. So a lot of different options, but certainly involving police and fire dispatch, not the greatest, and I'm encouraged to look at that. Also on the subject of the community enlightenment that Mr. LaFada hosted, fielded a lot of questions from residents, and there were a lot of township employees there who expressed a number of positive things, but also some frustrations about a number of issues. And I appreciated Mr. LaFada's handling of this. It's a sore subject in a lot of ways, but in Mr. LaFada's case, there was no political grandstanding in any way, and there was a lot of referrals back to the questions about what the roles and responsibilities of individual board members are. So if there's a board member who's frustrated with another board member, and specifically issues involving attendance and work ethics and things like that came about, those are not the responsibility of another board member. I am responsible for my office and the trustee's office, and I have opinions on everything, as everybody knows, but it's not proper. It's not within the bounds of the Township Charter Act for me to impose what I think another elected official should be doing. That's the responsibility of the voter. I just do what I think is in the best interest and try and work hard every day. So those questions came forward. I thought Mr. LaFata did a great job of answering them, but I also thought it created a forum that we don't often get to do from a board meeting table. And that is maybe an issue that Mr. Cate brought forward tonight. It's not the first time there's been a request for a town hall and issues that come up that typically divide the board or cause a lot of discussion. Phragmites, trash tonight, fireworks and how we deal with fireworks, fire safety and what's the direction of our department, development and growth, the sustainability study that's being done at Selfridge Air National Guard in cooperation with the county and local municipalities. These are all issues that we're really only able to touch on briefly if there's an agenda item on our, on our agenda. This community enlightenment event that Mr. LaFata hosted gave an opportunity to field questions, and there was no, sorry, we can't answer your question until board comment. You could ask a question. If you posed it to me, I would answer it, and then if you had a follow-up question, and we just go for as long as you want to go. This building is paid for by the residents, and I'll be here taking on questions on really any subject for as long as you want to ask them. So it was really a great venue, and I appreciated it very much. On a positive note, and in closing, again, I would like to thank MedStar for their continued services to our community. I think residents' safety, your patients' safety, your customer safety is clearly the focal point of your operation. But what I admire most, in addition to that, is the quality and the customer satisfaction follow-up and work that's done by MedStar. Their customer service ratings in this community are almost 100%, and they spend a lot of time and energy following up on residents that they service to determine what they felt was their level of care and were there any areas of improvement that their company should look at. And I appreciate that very much. And I know when I hear you talking about what happens when we're not actively engaged in an emergency situation, that time is not filled with dead time, where you're just parked somewhere in the township. Community outreach, taking smoke detectors and batteries and assisting residents in preventative ways is just a calling card of MedStar. And got to be honest, the addition of that helicopter was pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing it at our open house next weekend. Last thing I wanted to say was congratulations to Miss Willard, Amanda Willard, our Parks and Rec Director. Did an amazing job with another great opening day. While we had tremendous flood and water everywhere in the township, the fields were ready for baseball, and that was quite an amazing thing. Her team worked very hard in cooperation with Mr. Coddington's team to prepare. The parade was excellent, and the kids just really had a great time. Mr. Demink loaned some talent. His son was there with the K-9 unit and participated in the ceremonial throwing of the first pitches. And it was just a great morning, and something I didn't think, looking at the weather and seeing all the flood watches and so forth, I didn't think it was going to happen. So congratulations to Ms. Willard, a great leader in the Parks and Rec Department. She's got some real vision and some ideas about some future programming. I'm very excited for the Parks and Rec Department and grateful for her leadership. So thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Trustee Demink.
First, I'd like to welcome Firefighter Grzyb to the team and wish him the best of luck. I'm sure the supervisor will be touching on these water levels. Folks, this is serious. Some residents don't think that they're going to get as bad as they are. We were advised by Candace Miller and the Corps of Engineers supervisor advised us that possibly could go up 6 more inches by the end of July. Usually the lakes start dropping after them. Myself, I think everybody knows I'm a lifetime resident around here. And in 73, 86, and 2019, I sandbagged around a piece of property that I own in this township. This is serious, folks. We get it all depends, easterly or southeasterly winds. it's just like a hurricane, you get a storm surge. So we have sandbags available through DPW, sand at different locations. You gotta take this serious. This is no joking matter this year. The levels that I'm seeing now are the highest that I can remember. In '86 was high. Board members, we were all at the baseball games. I showed Trustee Anderson, Joseph, Tricia LaFata, and Supervisor Acciavatti pictures that I have backdating to '73 and what it looked like around here. And it's not a pretty sight. So you need to act. If you need help, contact your friends, neighbors. Everybody's sandbagging. Granted, there's elevation changes around here, but this is no joking matter. I mean, you can't control Mother Nature. You can slow her down, but you can't stop her. And with these lake levels, they're talking rain tomorrow night and some easterly winds. We don't know what's going to happen. So with that, next thing I'm going to touch on real quick is some announcements from Parks and Rec. Though the week has been somewhat gloomy to start, Beautification Week is happening this week. The schedule for the week can be found on the Parks and Rec website. The popular Get a Tree Day is Thursday, May 9th from 2 to 4 p.m. Committee members will be handing out free seedlings, sunflower seeds, and wolf meat packets. Visit the township offices. As Trustee Joseph already commented, our spring baseball opening for Little League was great. We had a great turnout. Fields were great. Thanks to DPW, Josh, Amanda and her staff, and for all the DPW that showed up, and elected officials throwing out the baseball. Also, the registration for spring and summer programs is in full swing. Check everything out at Parks and Rec website. So next, I have, if you pass these down, Paul, please. There's one more. Pass one down. With everything going on in Parks and Rec, there's a lot going on. Currently in Parks and Rec, we have 7 full-time employees, 7 to 8 year-round part-time employees, 20 seasonal, 32 contracted instructors, and 52 contracted league officials. Director Amanda has come up with a plan. She is looking to get a programmer for the Parks and Rec Department to help with the programming and organizing all this. It's just overloaded. Board members, you'll see in the handout that I've passed out, it's got stats, the number of programs that are going on, how many kids are in these things. So I'm going to be bringing it back to the board at a later date with Director Willard to possibly see if we could get approval for a programmer in our system. I passed it on to Mr. Duchesne prior to the meeting with the information that I just supplied to you with what we'd be looking for. I think we definitely need it. Our Parks and Recs are definitely a program for kids. It helps kids interact, keeps them out of trouble. I think since Supervisor Acciavatti put me on the Parks and Rec, I've tried to put my best foot forward and make it a good program and work so that the department, what Amanda's done, and the rest of the staff who's done a great job. So I'd appreciate it if the rest of the board would take a look at this at some time. Got any questions, get with me or Amanda, and I'd appreciate you guys looking at this and if I bring it back for your support on this issue. That's all I have. Thank you, Supervisor Acciavatti.
Thank you. Treasurer LaFata.
I'd like to welcome John Grzyb as a new firefighter to Chesterfield Township. The Community Enlightenment seminar that took place on April the 25th really was a surprising attendance of over 30 employees and residents. It was like a question and answer informative session. I think it helped answer a lot of questions and increase transparency of what goes on in the township. There was discussion on everything from worth ethics to the possibility of F-35 fighters being stationed at Selfridge Air Force Base. I put this on my own. I wanted to do this. I think it helped the morale for the employees that attended. And I wanted everybody to know that this cost the township zero. The printing for the flyers, the handouts, the water, snacks, treats, paper plates, all came out of my pocket. So the resident tax dollars are not used for this, like other programs that happen in the township. Thank you.
Clerk Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. As many of you know, today was Election Day for those people who live in the New Haven School District. Polls have now closed. It is 8:15 as we speak, so polls have closed now on Election Day for May 7th, 2019. There will be changes coming to many of our voters this year. We will be communicating that with you. We will be adding 4 additional precincts due to our current growth and the anticipated growth. Those who are affected by those changes will be contacted by the Clerk's Department probably multiple times this year, as those changes will be enacted prior to the 2020 election season starting. In addition to communicating about all of the precinct changes that may affect you, we will also be communicating about information that affects you with regards to the changes from Proposal 3, as well as some of the things that you have seen in the news moving through the court systems. Particularly, you may have heard about the redistricting that is going to be potentially taking place here with regards to state Senate districts. As that affects us, we will let you know as soon as possible how those changes or any other court action is going to impact our voters. So keep your eyes open for that. We'll be communicating through every and any media we can possibly think of to get that information to you, and then invite you as well to ask any questions of our office. We will be available to answer those questions. Also, this week is Municipal Clerks Week. It is the 50th anniversary of Municipal Clerks Week. And although we didn't adopt an official proclamation, I'd like to just point out some of the things that the International Institute of Municipal Clerks has made comment on regarding Municipal Clerks Week and the Office of the Municipal Clerk. The Office of the Municipal Clerk is a time-honored and vital part of local government and exists throughout the world. The Office of the Municipal Clerk is the oldest among all public servants and provides the professional link between the citizens, local governing bodies, and agencies of the government at all other levels. Municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. The municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and the community. Municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of the Municipal Clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, county, and international professional organizations. I myself have served for the last year or so as the president of the Macomb County Professional Municipal Clerks Association. And we have dealt with all of the changes that have come about with regards to, again, Proposal 3, with regards to elections, with regards to various other legal issues. Most people are unaware that most municipal clerks are the point of contact in the local municipality for any legal matters. We are in charge of maintaining the Code of Ordinances, which is all of the township laws that govern the residents who live here and those who function here in the township. So when it comes to most legal matters, contracts, and all of our ordinances, the municipal clerk is also the point of contact for that, as well as elections and maintaining all of the official records of the township government. So those are just some of the things that municipal clerks do on a daily basis. In order to do that, we are very fortunate here in Chesterfield to have an outstanding staff. I'd like to recognize my deputy clerk, Michelle Niza, who just recently received completed her Municipal Clerks Institute, which makes her eligible to become a certified municipal clerk. That is something that not all municipal clerks do. That is something that the elite will do to improve our level of service. By achieving and maintaining certification, we are able to increase our level of service to you. And both myself, I am currently certified, and Deputy Clerk Niza has now become eligible for certification after completing her educational requirements. Also, virtually every clerk in our office has expressed a desire to become certified. We do have one additional certified municipal clerk in our office. So the majority of those who serve in our office are in fact certified and have taken that additional step in order to provide better service to you and our residents. So I'm very proud of that. I think you need to be proud of that as well. As a result of that and our increased level of service and dedication to service, our clerk's office has been recognized by the U.S. Department of State as one of the top 1% of all passport agents with regards to passport processing. We will be having a late night passport event available for you on Monday, May the 13th. We will be here after hours from 4:30 until 7:30 p.m. for those of you who need passports for your summer travel. If you know anyone who needs them, you do not need to be a township resident. You can come and have your passport, new passports processed here. We do expedited processing as well as photos, so it is a one-stop shop. There is not one function that we do not do with regards to passport processing, so please take advantage of that. It's right here in our backyard, and you have the passport agents who have been recognized in the top 1%. So if you're going to have it done, I say have it done by the best, and very proud to have those folks working with us here in Chesterfield. Last thing I'd like to make you aware of is that our commercial cannabis committee, the meeting that they are having, if you are interested in the cannabis issue and how it affects and will impact Chesterfield Township, that discussion is taking place once a month with our cannabis committee. This month we will be meeting on Monday, May 20th. Normally we are a 6:30 start time, but this month we will be meeting at 5:30, concluding at 6:30, as Senator Lucido will be here in the evening with a citizen event. So please note the date and time of the change of that meeting. You can sign up for any notifications for any meetings of any committee that the township has on our website. You will receive automatic notifications. So if you're interested in planning, zoning, township board, if you'd like to be alerted of special board meetings, please, it's very easy to sign up on our website for those notifications, and I encourage you to do so. Thank you.
A couple of quick brief comments. One is the Jefferson Road Bridge. We've been talking about it for a year. It is highly anticipated, very necessary, in that bridge was critical, and it wasn't far away from being closed for a different reason. The bridge, when complete, is going to be a beautiful pillar of our community. It's going to have character. It's going to have a little additional clearance, a very wide pedestrian path, and when it's complete, it's going to be fabulous. However, Jefferson will be closed from yesterday until potentially October the 4th. I anticipate the contractor beating that date. However, that's the latest date that it can open under contract. On top of that, just so that our residents, our motoring public is aware, there's also a substantial project, a Michigan Department of Transportation project going on 23 Mile Road from 94 to SAS. And that will include periodic lane closures for the entire summer as well, on and off. These are two separate agencies. One is a Macomb County Department of Roads project, the bridge project. The project on 23 Mile Road is MDOT project, also necessary. It's just going to be a very difficult year for travel, and I would just urge patience as we continue to navigate those two thoroughfares. Tons of other projects down the road projects that you're going to be seeing in infrastructure improvements as well, but those are going to be the most, have the most impact on our residents, and they're here, and the end will be fabulous. We experienced a tremendous rain event, coupled with the historic water levels that we're seeing. I've never been so proud in the last week of our DPW team and the entire team here at the township, from engineering, the DPW. Kevin Johnson was out on a hot spot till the wee hours of the morning, dealing with a problem that was in our community, but not our problem. There's other agencies involved that we're coordinating with the Drain Commission, with the Road Commission, the state agencies, to deal with this rising water level. I urge you to check with our website. There's too many specific areas to touch on them all. Our team, though, is aware of them, whether it's water that looks like it's inches away from the road at the Schmid Drain on 21, by Propeller Basin, how water's backing up into the ditches, the structures, whether it be on private shore, Point Lakeview, Man Drive. We know all those areas and where the concerns are, and we are deploying every resource that we have. And just watching this team I've just never been so proud of watching what they do, what they've done. 300,000 pounds of sand has already been shoveled into sandbags, and approximately 9,000 sandbags to date, and that number was as of Sunday, and that number will continue to grow. We are hoping and praying for the best, and anticipating and trying to be prepared for the worst. Lake Superior is still got a heck of a lot of water in it. That is heading our way. There's still snow cover up in the UP. NOAA has estimated 6 to 12 inches additional lake increase in our lake level between now and July, coupled, and that's not including a wind out of the southeast. So there's too much individual spots to speak on. I urge you to check with the website and stay in touch or stay as informed as you can. Protect your property. At the end of the day, your parcels and your property is a individual's resident's responsibility. Use common sense. If water is going to come over a roadway, that's something to. There's certain things we're going to be able to do to shut it down or not shut it down, or to ensure that the public's safe. One of the flyers and one-pagers I put together dealt with drains. Not only is this a water level issue, but it affects the rain and the weather event water as well, because all the drain levels come up. We can all help out with pollution in our drains. Keep them clean. Keep them keep the debris out of them. Every little bit is going to help. And I just thank the DPW and this entire Chesterfield Township team for the last week. It may be a very long summer on the water level front as well. Our public safety team and all of our other partners at the county and state. I'm just a little tired after the last week, but I'm just very happy with the performance of our township. Our next scheduled board meeting will be on Tuesday, May 21st at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Trustee DeMink, support by Trustee Anderson to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay.